Depth is what makes your shots more dynamic and three-dimensional and keeps the audience engaged within those frames. And I think it's super important as a cinematographer to understand how to create depth and how to use all the tools to layer on top of each other to create depth, like production design, lens choice, depth of field, lighting layering, also blocking and camera movements. All these things just on top of each other create depth. And you're probably wondering, how the heck do you do all this? And in this video, we're actually going to show you how to do this through all these things that I mentioned. And we're also going to break down the behind the scenes of this music video that we shot so you can see how we create depth on set with our sets and our lighting and our depth of field and everything. And we're going to break down some shots from that music video so you can see kind of the mindset behind it. So let's dive into this video. This is actually one of my favorite images of the entire music video. And I just love all the different layers that's going on. So let's talk about these layers and how I achieved creating depth within this frame. We had the production designer who created this set, and she gave us amazing depth. So she actually built depth lengthwise so that we would have separation between our talent and the background.
We ran into an issue with the wallpaper, so we had to shrink the room in width-wise. So now we're going to move our top light, which is going to be the key light for some of the band members in the back, a little bit over and forward so that would kill the spill off the wall to have like this almost dark vignette around it. And then we're just trying to figure out a key light for the main talent that's going to be in the middle here, because we want it to be sidey and rappy, but not fronty. If we have a wall here and we bring it here, it's going to be too fronty. So we're trying to figure out a way so it can be sidey and also working with the wall. Maybe it's a flyaway wall and we have the key light pushing this way. We're going to figure that out, TBD. There we go. Not as good as Luke though.
So this was one way that we created depth, was actually physically creating depth with the set. Now, another thing was I chose to shoot at a T4 on this, and that's because with shooting a little bit closed down, I was able to hold some detail in the background. So if I was like at a T1.3, because we were shooting the master primes,
This lens is worth more than me.
it would just be too milky. You wouldn't see anything in the background. And I feel like you would lose so much production value if I opened up all the way to 1.3. Look at all this beautiful texture in the back walls here. We want to see that. We want to see that texture. We want to see, the band members a little bit more. Honestly, I think I could have done like a T4.5 or a 5 or something like that, just kind of close down a little bit more. But I felt like this was really balanced within the image to create that separation. Still, we would still have that depth of field separation, but it also didn't feel too much. The fall off wasn't too intense. And so we were able to still hold detail, still kind of pick out what's happening behind them, and still hold some character as well in the lens. Because once we start closing down, it starts getting very sharp on the master primes. So I still wanted this kind of soft, buttery roll off on the lenses. But not only did the aperture and like playing with depth of field add layer and dimension to this whole thing, but it was also the lighting. This shot is actually really interesting because there's so many layers to the lighting.
Let's go through a walk-up of this setup. This setup is actually low-key absurd. So let's talk through it. Cramped space, but first of all, shooting on the robot again. We got a key light here, sky panel key light into mud, to a silk, hard bottomer. That's just for our key on the main guy. This C-stand here is for a tube that he didn't want, but I just left it there because I don't need that C-stand. I don't need that light for anything else. So it's just on standby in case he's suddenly like, oh wait, this guy's too dark. I can just turn it back on. So we have two what we call goalposts here. So we got two stands on either side, two 20 by poles. The first one is holding our chandelier in the shot. That way we can like move it around wherever we want for the chandelier. The second one here is our 600. So if you look up there, see that big like black ball of a shape? That's our 600. We've put a grid on it, but then we've also put dew as siders to really contain the light. So it's not hitting the walls, it's just on the ground and the people underneath it. It's a good look. Here's a Nova, not doing anything. And then let's come back here. Yeah. So back here we have the Leica setup. This is kind of hard to see because it is pretty cramped and a lot of shit going on. You can see our cable management probably could be better, but oh well. Anyway, we got two Lecos here. One is a Zion.
Okay, Ziyun sent us the G300 Molus light, and it is absolutely insane. It is like the smallest and the most lightweight light out there for indie filmmakers. It's actually insane. We used it on this music video, and that's what we were putting on a spotlight attachment, and it was awesome. It was so tiny. It's bicolor. It goes from 2700 Kelvins all the way to 6500 Kelvins, and it is so tiny. I can't get over it, how tiny it is. You can put it in very cramped spaces. It is so cool. I love what Zion is doing. They're making really budget-friendly lights with insane amount of output for on the budget, you know, and that's so amazing for indie filmmakers because we don't want to worry about achieving our dreams and our creative. We don't want to worry about the technical. We just want to be creative. So that's what I love about Zion. They're pushing the boundaries of LED. And also, this has a crazy mode where you can go max mode by holding both buttons down, and it goes to like 500 watts, which is actually insane. That is so bright for such a tiny light. You can see the tiny form factor, how thin it is. Comes with the ballast, comes with the head unit and a cone or a reflector, and I'm just blown away, guys. It's seriously insane. Go check it out. There's a link down below. Amazing light. Highly recommend. It is a little loud because of the fans and how tiny it is when you're in max mode. So if you're recording audio in a small, quiet room, I'd keep that in mind. But for the budget friendliness of it and how much output you're getting out of it, like almost 500 watts, that's insane. That is crazy. You can't beat that. So highly recommend it. Go check it out. Link is down below. Supports the channel, supports me making videos. And I love you guys. Let's get back to the video.
Thanks, Zion. Please sponsor me next, please. I'll make really good videos about your products. Please, 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 please. So we got a Zion into a Godox, which is actually really nice. And the reason it's really nice is a lot of spotlights kind of go everywhere. This one seems to be a lot better at like going centered. About what I mean by that is like you get your main beam, but like the aperture Leica will have like a secondary ring of light outside of that, and it's kind of annoying, and you have to do likewise with cutters. Anyway, so we got the Godox one there, that's going one pattern, and then we have a normal 750 Leica there, the old school style with some scrims on it because I don't know what happened to the dimmer. That wasn't me. I didn't definitely blow the fuse on the dimmer because. Anyway, so we have that. We also have some diff because that second there's Godox Leica setup that was hitting one of our guys and it was too bright. So we have a diffusion, like a silk with diff on it to make really strong diffusion, and then that's going over that guy. So we still get a Leica and a bit of light, but on him it's really diffused, but then on the background past him it's not. And then this flag here is just because, as I was saying, you get that secondary ring of light on Leicos. That is cutting the secondary leak of light off the wall. So the wall isn't getting any light from this Leica. The back wall, it's only like the side wall. So the Leica's here, it's been boom. It was spilling onto this wall, but now we cut it off.
Let's start with the key light. So we had a little 4x4 book light just kind of pushing onto his face here. And the reason why we did a book light was because it's super soft, and I really love that soft look, especially for close-ups, because it just gives this kind of butteriness to the shadows on the face. And you can see here, it's creating the classic Rembrandt here. And the book light or the key light isn't too far away from the camera. So we're getting this perfect ratio over here, but also creating an eye light in his eye, which, you know, gives so much dimension and depth to his face and his eyes. I wanted to isolate the key light just on our lead talent here, Drew, because I wanted to play with different layers of lighting. So this was just his light. I wanted him to be in the spotlight in a way. So we used not only the wall as a natural cider, but we used a floppy just to cut off the light from this wall. And that was just because I wanted to keep this wall a certain exposure, and I wanted it to keep it like almost like a vignette around them, keep it a little bit darker around them, and make the band members pop more. So going more into this layer stuff, we had some hard light actually playing to add some different textures and different layers of lighting. So we had 2 Lecos up here in the right side of top of the right side of the set here. And they would just shine into this back wall and then shine onto the side wall here. Kind of bled into this beautiful wall here and just gave this kind of warmth and this kind of like highlight to the eye, and it kind of draws your eye there a little bit, or gives some more interest as well. And then we also play with some practical bulbs in the frame. There's probably like 6 different practicals in there, and we all had them on a sequence where Luke, our gaffer, was amazing and had them all kind of like pulsing or going to the beat, and they're all kind of random, which was super cool. So after all those kind of texturing lighting, I needed some light on our band members in the back here. So what that was, we had a 600X with a big soft dome up in the top, just kind of almost like emulating this chandelier here. And that's pushing the soft light just down onto these guys here and just giving them a little bit of exposure, but I'm keeping those guys like half a stop to a stop under our main guy here, just so that our main guy has that separation and draws your eye to him versus the guys in the background. So we also had to use black duvetine or black fabric to cut off a bunch of the light that was coming down from that 600X in the ceiling. And that just allowed us to control the light that was hitting these walls because, like I said, we wanted to keep that vignette going and keep the light controlled off the walls to keep that kind of darker vignette around the band. So that's how we kind of achieved that. And we just kind of used some black fabric and just cut off the light. So I want to go into the second scene here. And this was this white void scene. And we got like a bunch of different shots. We got some kind of like individual shots. We got some band shots. We got some performance shots. And then we had this shot, which was really fun. We had the robotic arm that kind of like went from side to side, over, under, kind of like did all these different camera moves. And then the dudes in the frame would just look into the camera, and it was really funny.
So I think we'll just change this source into a little bit bigger, like just making this into like a 12 by silk.
Okay, same bounce though.
Yeah, we can use the same buzz.
Same light, same everything. Okay, sick. Is he wants a bigger source, right? Bigger source, softer. So setting the 12 by. Normally, we just T-bar in a studio. We don't have wind to deal with, and I really like these stands because they're really easy to move around because they're on wheels, and we're in a flat studio, so might as well take advantage of it while we're not out in the woods. Anyway, we're using pipe because that's all this studio. The gear package we has is a bunch of pipe, so we're using pipe. Now just waiting for Genki to grab the 12 by, so we're switching from an 8 by to a 12 by.
Looks at the gaffer. Do you want to explain the setup? What do we got going on here? What are we doing?
All right, guys, what we got going on here is this is a book light, right? I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this. It's something new Chris has been trying out recently. Basically, we're bouncing 2 sky panels into a piece of muzz, which is then bouncing through
This 12 by 12 light grid.
Dude, we sound insane, man.
Yeah. There we go. Big wall of negative fill on this side to create shadow so that the light doesn't bounce back off that white wall. And we're able to control that spill and create contrast. And then we have top light filling in the ground here. So it's like this white void. And then we have these 2 cream sources in that wall. And that's just washing that out, creating that white void once again. It's kind of this thing is like trying to avoid any shadows on this white void, so that's why we're filling it all in, and then using it just to affect the talent that's in the frame. So that's how we do it, baby. And a soft wrap with this book light. We had a Leco, a 750 watt tungsten Leco, just super high on a 19 degree barrel, so it's super tight beam, just concentrated on him, and we scrimmed it down because we don't have a dimmer, so we put like doubles, singles, and like a half double. And we added an opal just to soften it a little bit because the shadows were a little too harsh.
Yeah, I don't know why we don't have dimmers and we have to use scrims. It's kind of strange. Usually
he's an LED boy. He doesn't know how to use the other stuff.
It's true.
He doesn't know how to use the time.
I don't like that everyone says that I'm an LED baby, actually, because I actually learned on tungsten fixtures. They're just kind of not popular anymore. I don't use them anymore because they're stupid and silly.
So the director actually really wanted a spotlight on our main talent right here, Drew. And so this was a challenge because I was putting up this Leco, and the Leco just felt too harsh on him. So we ended up scrimming it down. And what a scrim is, it basically cuts the light. So it dims it down. And this is just like an old fashioned way of doing it because I don't think we had a dimmer. So we were screwing it down, and then I ended up throwing like, I think like an opal into it, and I just couldn't get it right. And then it just ended up looking like their key light, and then just with a little hard shadow, which I don't really like this shadow right here. I think it's just feels really off. You know what? It's okay. It's like, who's gonna notice that? I mean, maybe you guys will leave a bunch of hate comments like, Chris, why the fuck would you have this weird ass little shadow dangling off of his shoulder? I'll be like, I hate it too, guys. What can I say? In terms of the lighting setup, we had 12 by 12 book light, and that's what was edging these guys as a key light onto the faces here, and that kind of soft, buttery kind of roll off onto their shadows. So we bounced two sky panels S60s into some muslin, and that shot through a light grid, and that just kind of had that beautiful sidey soft key. And then we had a bunch of negative fill on this side to kill off all the bounce that was coming from this book light and all the lights and hitting this white wall over here. So when you're shooting in a white void, you got to keep in mind that it's just one massive bounce because it's just white bounce everywhere. So I used a lot of negative fill to control that. So we used like, I think like 4 floppies and like some 12 by 12 solid. And then I think we even had a 12 by 12 solid behind the camera too, so that we weren't getting any bounce back from behind camera. But I did leave the bounce from behind them, because you can see here some of the bounce off the back wall here is actually hitting him here in like the like a back cheekbone. And I thought that kind of created a really nice natural backlight and separation between them in the background. So I left that. That was actually from 2 cream source vortexes up in the ceiling. And we were just using those to kind of hit that back wall, just to kind of, you know, create this white void, this even exposure in the background. And those were kicking off of the back wall and giving that backlight. And I thought it was really nice. And I think we were even putting like some pieces of duvetine on the ground so that we weren't getting any kickback up from the ground and being able to hold that contrast. And you can see on him especially, like he just has that really nice backlight, jaw light from the back wall. Yeah, I really like this shot. I think it's really nice. I think it's really the colors of their outfits and like their looks. I think they really sell it, which is really cool. But yeah, what else can I talk about? We blacked out the entire studio and kind of made it into this black void. And so the black void brings its own troubles. Not only the amount of work it took to black out the entire studio, but it was also controlling the light. This one, we really had to control the light, because if we let the light spill everywhere, we would see the wrinkles of all the black fabric that was around. You'd see all the wrinkles from this black fabric around them. So we wanted it to be a seamless black void. So what we did, we had a 600X. We had a 600X right here, kind of hitting them, key lighting them here. And we had that in the ceiling. We rigged that up. We got into the lift. We rigged that up, and it just had a big soft dome. It wasn't like a big diffusion frame or anything like that. It was like the 150 dome. And that was playing tungsten 3200 Kelvins just to kind of keep this warmer look in here, because we had the carpet and just the tones kind of felt more warm. So we were kind of playing with that. And then we had a like a egg crate or a grid on it so that the light wouldn't spill outward. We kind of kept it controlled hitting this way. And then I realized it was a little bit too contrasty. So we brought in the Zhiyun, literally one of my favorite lights nowadays, the Zhiyun 500B. Now this light is super crazy, guys. It's actually insane. Like, it's so tiny. It has no ballast and it's super quiet. And it's like almost the output of the 600D. But it's bicolor. You have like 2700 Kelvins all the way to 6500 Kelvins, I believe. And I just love it. It's so tiny, so compact, and we've used it on this entire shoot. And I highly recommend you guys check it out. I'll leave a link down below. You guys go check it out. They also have the 300B, which is like even tinier. It's like a little tiny panel light, and it's absolutely insane. These lights that Zhiyun's making is like changing the game of the LED world, and I'm super stoked on being able to test out their products, I think is so phenomenal what they're doing. And those lights have helped so much on this project. Like being able to have that flexibility and having that output as well is just such a game changer, because there are situations where we are playing a T4, right? So we need that extra light. So having these lights just made me feel confident that we have the output that we need. So we did play with the Zion 500B with another big soft dome, and that was just wrapping the light around just to kind of fill in the shadows a tiny bit. And that was on another Menace arm so that we wouldn't get any camera shadows from the robot arm, because the robot arm kind of comes swooping in and coming up and down and things like that. So having those lights higher up and a little bit more off to the side allowed us to still hold shape in our frame, like shadow wise, but allowed the camera to not have any shadows when they came in, and gave the director more freedom with the shot as well. But there was one little thing that I realized when we were playing with this key light, was that they were falling off into the dark void way too much. So I added a Nova 600C or whatever it is, as a backlight. And that just kind of edged these guys, and it just kind of kicked off this these drum snares or whatever they're called, and gave them a hair light, and just kind of separated them from the black void, because without that, they would have just bled into that black void, and it just would looked it looked really off. Just trust me, it looked really, really bad. I wish I could show you guys. It looked night and day with that backlight. So, you know, a backlight is so important, especially when you have like a character against a dark background. It just helps them have that separation, or like a character with like dark brown hair or black hair against a really dark background. You want to have that kind of backlight just to kind of separate them from that background. Otherwise, they just blend into that wall. Like you can kind of see, I don't really have a backlight on me right now, and I'm just kind of blending into that back wall. I mean, I guess I kind of do from this thing up there, but I don't know. Anyways, that's my ramble about backlights. I don't always play backlight, but you know, sometimes you're like, oh god damn, I need a backlight. So anyways, that's my spiel about backlights. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys had a blast watching it. If you guys did, please give a thumbs up, give a little like, share this video. That would be awesome. Let me know what you guys want to see in future videos. I love hearing from you guys. Also, feel free, I'll leave my email down below. If you guys have any questions, just shoot me an email. I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have. Hopefully I can help with anything in cinematography related elements. I can't really help with anything else. But yeah, please leave comments down below, give a little like, share to your mom, your friends, your family, you know, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I really appreciate you guys.